While watching Fly Me to the Moon, the one thing that stood out to me through the near 1 hour and a half runtime, besides these horrifying character designs, was how much the movie slows down and cuts the jokes for these very specific hollowed moments. Holding this moment, these steps on the moon, as great import. Fly Me to the Moon is an utterly ridiculous movie with fat jokes and coming of age galore. I'm 22 now, so this isn't exactly going to hit on the same level as I have to imagine it did for, people of the right age at the right time. But these uniquely sparing moments of reverence given to the space race and that particular administration at the time, it interests me because it is such a bygone wonder. When Project Hail Mary came out, it sparked this discussion of how realistic a tale this really is. This concept that in the face of cosmic cataclysm, would humanity put their differences aside and work together to solve that problem? Now, I have my own opinions on Anywhere and the issues of that story, but what I find really interesting here is how NASA is cool movies are seemingly old hat these days, with Project Hail Mary feeling like a unique exception in this media atmosphere. While, in the past 10 to 15 years ago, or even further back, you'd have a league of them every year. What changed?
What happened? Your balls drop off?
The first thing I think of when I think of the NASA movie is folks like Ron Howard and Joe Johnston. Very competent, efficient filmmakers, but not exactly transgressive in the sense of being critical of our national identity. These are who I think of when I think of Americana movies. Norman Rockwell, if he were a filmmaker. You could even throw in folks like Brad Bird and Tony Scott. To put it simple, these are celebratory, reverent, uncritical vignettes of American life. From Apollo 13 to Top Gun and Beverly Hills Cop to The Iron Giant. These are cool guys doing cool things for the good of the American dream. Now, why is that not in vogue anymore? Well, this brings me to Gil Scott-Heron and...
Rat done bit my sister Nell with Whitey on the moon. Her face and arms began to swell, and Whitey's on the moon. Was all that money I made last year for Whitey on the moon? How come I ain't got no money here? Whitey's on the moon.
Now, this is not me saying we should descend into pessimism and never look back. I think there is hope to be found in NASA and exploring the unknown. I'm a Star Trek nerd after all, but there is only hope if it doesn't become this. Gil Scott-Heron calls us to a recognition of reality for all people, not just the more privileged, and the realization that while resources like NASA are a good ideal, in the wrong hands, it calls to a disparity between what we can achieve and what we perpetuate. To dream when Palestinians are dying. To dream when immigrants are ripped from their families. To dream when black child after black child is murdered. To dream after the rights of trans people are ripped away. To dream
It belongs to the literature of prospective presidents, men, as it turns out, who speak not to gravity and reality, but to aspirations and dreams. When Lincoln invoked the dream of a nation conceived in liberty and pledged the ideal that all men are created equal, he erased the near extermination of one people and the enslavement of another. When Roosevelt told the country that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, he invoked the dream of American omnipotence and boundless capability. But black people, then living under a campaign of terror for more than half a century, had quite a bit to fear, and Roosevelt could not save them. The dream Ronald Reagan invoked in 1984, that it's morning again in America, meant nothing to the inner cities, besieged as they were by decades of redlining policies, not to mention crack and Saturday night specials. Likewise, Obama's keynote address conflated the slave and the nation of immigrants who profited from him. To reinforce the majoritarian dream, the nightmare endured by the minority is erased.
Great science fiction is about global collectivism, about cooperation on a massive scale. But before aspirations can be made manifest, we must address our material needs directly. W.E.B. Du Bois understood this well, that merely working within the system and appealing to those who want to put you down will get you nowhere. But that direct action is needed. Demands are needed. The current administration has done much work to privatize space exploration, make it a privilege for the rich and not a public good. The woes of aesthetic optimism call to us, a reaching for what is good, what is true, truer than what feels good, comfortable, or optimistic. To sleep in a sea of stars begs we see those who rest in unrest on a bed of nails.